In this video, we are going to begin integrating our thread pool system with Unity. Lee?
All right. As you can see, we're staring at Unity right now. You've already seen us create new projects over and over and over again, so I wasn't going to waste any time on video, and I did that off camera. So we've got a new project. As you can see, I've created our code folder, a scripts folder. I've created an empty game manager. So all this is just some initial code. I cleaned it up real quick just because I don't like the way that it creates the blank code. And then I dragged in our code folder with our threading stuff and all of our classes that we created in the last several sets of videos while dealing with our priority queue, our worker threads, and our MyThreadPool class. All of those have been brought in. All I've done to this point is drag them in. I've not modified them. I've not changed any code in any way. And in fact, if we were to try to run this, it would probably complain because we've got those console.write lines still embedded in the code, and we need to get rid of those. So what I wanted to kind of show is the process of how we take something that we've built, debugged, tested inside of a console application, import it and integrate it in with Unity so we can set it up so that it'll work seamlessly. And then later on, we're going to further refine that to make sure that we can take our thread pool and all of its classes, bundle those up in a DLL, and have those set up in such a way that we can use them inside of Unity, outside of Unity, that we don't have to change any of the code. We just put the DLL in and we build against that DLL and everything's good and happy.
Okay.
So let's get started inside of Unity because there's a couple of things that we still need to do that I haven't done. One of the ones is going to create a game object, hit F2 to rename it. This is going to be our game manager. Just because I like to, I'm going to set its position at the origin, even though there's nothing visually on the screen to represent what this is, so you would never know. I just feel better that way. I'm going to drag our game manager script on it. So this is our object that will run game manager, which is a mono behavior. I also want to add another game object. This one is going to be a GUI text. Rename this one to be debug text. This is just a temporary game object. There's no... If I was doing a real game or this wasn't a test application, I might create this procedurally, but in this case, it's just to demonstrate our class working inside of it, so I'm just going to create it this way, rename it, and then take our text and delete it so we can't see it. And then I'll just access this from inside of our game manager. Go ahead and I'm going to create another folder. I'm going to rename this to be scenes. And if you're wondering, the square brackets are just so they show up at the top of the list. I'll save scene as. Put it inside of our scenes folder. Just call it demo. All right. So that should be the rest that we need to set up inside of Unity for the moment. Go ahead and double click on Game Manager. That'll bring us back over to here. Now there's a couple of other methods that I want to implement. I want to have void awake. I have update. I also want to have fixed update. And I want to have void on, on application quit. Make sure that's all of them. That should be good for now. All right, now, going to need a couple of fields. I'm going to make these as public statics. Not fields. These are going to be properties. We're going to have not a stack alloc. All right, so static string status message. Now, if you remember, in our thread pool, in the my thread pool, we've got the those console.write lines that print out the status of our thread pool and what it's doing.
Right.
Because those are console.write lines, we can't see those.
Right.
Now, I could switch them over to debug.logs and just print them out to the console. And I was thinking about that, and I was originally going to do that, but I also want to use this to demonstrate a problem that we have in Unity. So what I've done is decided to write them to that debug text, that GUI text game object that we've done, so that we can write those out on the screen. The reason why is when I do this particular demonstration, we're going to have to build out to a standalone application. When we build out to a standalone application, you cannot see those debug.log messages. So we're not going to rely on that. We're going to use this status message string to hold that information. So then I'm also going to do a public static. I'm getting a little bit of lag. So,
no idea.
this one's going to be a string array. Now this is going to be an array of strings, and the reason I'm using this as opposed to a single one is because we're going to have multiple strings or multiple worker threads all running at a single time. I want to have this array of strings so that each one of them can report back to a different element in this array, and it will keep that information separate. So then we can print out the statuses of each and every worker thread that is currently being run. So that will take care of those. We're going to need a field to hold on to our debug text. This will be a game object. I will call it debug text. We will also need a private integer called jobs added. This is going to keep track of the number of jobs that have currently been or that have been added up to a certain point. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding lots and lots and lots of these threads. And one of the things that I'm going to be demonstrating later on is how inside of the Unity editor, if you have too many threads, and after a while, it will cause the editor to explode.
Okay.
So what I want to do is have enough of these jobs added so I can demonstrate that. I will then take that and demonstrate that if we build out to a standalone, we don't get the same error. So it is a known bug inside of the Unity editor, and Unity has yet to come up with a fix for it yet. Or has yet to come up with a fix. I don't have to say yet 5 or 6 times.
I know
it's such a great word.
It is.
All right, now let's go ahead and start putting in some of the initial functionality in place. We're not going to go through all of it in this video because it'll take a couple of videos to get all this put together. But we'll start off with the awake. We're going to do status message, and I'm going to initialize this to be a string.empty. I'm going to take my thread pool and thread pool. We'll add it to our usings using ReSharper. Now, like I said before, this is pretty much on the fly. If we don't set anything here, it's going to make use of the number of processors minus 1. On this particular machine, that would be 12 processors minus 1, so 11 total processors. But I want a few more of threads running at a time than even the number of cores that Jason has on this machine. So we're going to use the set max threads. We're going to set it to 20. So we're going to be able to run 20 threads simultaneously.
Okay.
And then I'm going to say thread report equals new string, and I'm going to set the size of this array to be my thread pool dot get max thread. Man, I spelled that one wrong too. Should be get max threads. All right, let's go fix that. My thread pool get max threads. Refactor that. Did I mess up any of the other ones? Get available threads. Threads. Worker thread cleanup. Allocate next. Worker threads. Alright. That looks like good for now. I'm sure I'll find something else wrong eventually.
Yeah, probably.
So that will take care of our awake statement. Now, inside of our start, I want to do debug text dot or equals. So what we need to do is I've already created the debug text GUI text game object inside of Unity. We need to find it and set its reference to debug.text or set debug text to that object. So we're going to use gameObject.find, and we're going to find it by its name, and I called it debug text.
All right.
So hit comma, and I'm going to jump over to Unity real quick just to make sure I spelt it correctly or with the proper casing. And Unity thread implementation. Matter of fact, while I'm at it, because I know if I don't do this, I will probably switch over and start typing on the wrong code. This is the console application implementation of it.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell that by the program and the fact that there's no asset folder in here. We're done with this one. So
Okay.
I'm going to close that. So we're going to implement from this point forward inside of this Unity one. So this should go find our GUI text. I'm going to set debug text dot GUI text, which is that particular component, and I'm going to set its pixel offset to be equal to a new vector2. And because this is based off of the center position of our screen, I'm going to set x to be negative screen dot width divided by 2. I'm going to use a float to make sure I get don't lose any precision, and I'm going to add 10 pixels to the left hand for some padding.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to say screen dot height divided by 2 minus 10. So this will push it 10 pixels off the top of the screen. And to test it out, debug text dot GUI text dot text equals hello there. All right. Now I'm going to skip our update fixed update for now, but on application quit, I want to say my thread pool dot quit equals true. So that will force us to quit out of it. So this will be the initial part of it. Let's go ahead and jump back over into Unity. I'm going to run this, but it's probably going to give us an error. Matter of fact, if it doesn't give me an error, I'm going to be really surprised. So I'm really surprised. but it did do the GUI text, set it, and put it up in the margins. I am really surprised that it didn't give me an error. What I was expecting an error from was going to be because of the console.write lines, but I do know why it's not giving me the error. Reason why is that if I go to our thread pool and is the console.write lines are still valid code because I've included the system using.
Yeah.
But they're just not writing anywhere. So they have no place to go. But what I want to do is I want to set them to status messages. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So everywhere we've got the console.write line, we're going to change that up with game manager dot status message equals and I'll copy that, save me some typing. So, and then in this case I'm going to have to use string dot format and if I scroll down, I think there was one more hiding somewhere. Maybe not. So waiting for work. More. Oh, okay, looks like that's it, but I can check by doing alright, Jason's changed that up too. Console. Oh, okay, so that's all of those. Build it. Jump back over into apparently he did have another one running. So yeah, I better save that. Right, so there's that one. Alright, so run. So works, no errors. And inconsistent line endings I'm not worried about. Alright, now we've got some more stuff that we need to implement, but we'll do that in the next video.
Okay.
So this is just getting the initial part up and running, ready for getting information reported back. We're going to still have to go in. We're going to have to redefine the way our test worker thread works. And then we're going to have to put code in place for creating those jobs, as well as generating the report that's going to show up on the screen that's going to give us the current status of not only the thread pool, but each of the currently executing threads as well.
All right. Well, that will wrap things up for this video. Thanks a lot.